I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm not a journalist. I'm not associated with any newspaper or any other journalism organization. That's the disclaimer to get YouTube to shut the fuck up about me doing false data or whatever. I'm a person attempting to explain to you there's a problem with not the subject matter of the video, but its reporting. I'm just going to get to the point. Stop fucking using Twitter for your alerts in any way. Stop blocking archive.org, dear University of Virginia, or library.virginia.edu, or any of it. Why are you blocking an archiver that would make it to where we could get a clean answer? Because they would use, at worst, Greenwich Mean Time for the timer, instead of your last Tuesdayism that gives the same report as being 4:15 as 3:15 because reasons. Compel yourself to... I'm not talking about the subject matter of what happened at this University Library. I'm talking about data, false information, inaccuracies. If you are not logged into Twitter, if you can possibly wrench yourself loose from the ganglion of it all, or just use a supposedly incognito window, you can go to the university's x.com page, it's Twitter, UVA safety /status/ and then look at the statuses, and you might find things. But unless you're logged in, you're only going to see posts about similar incidents in November of 2022. And then when you look at them again, if you archive them through Archive Today, which is the only one they're letting work, it fails to show the time and date stamp because it's doing it in human-friendly speak, meaning you don't know what year or decade the damn post is in. Rage bait fuels Twitter. And apparently I'm experiencing it. And one of the more infuriating things about rage baiters is they love not including a clear, unambiguous time and date stamp. At least get the year in there. No, I'm not kidding. If you look at it, it just says 4 p.m. or it says X number of weeks ago, but it's hidden in small print or something. What happened? 160 McCormick Rd, University of Virginia Shannon Library, 2025, 11:03 is the date, November the 3rd. Yes, we're going to annoy you out there. If you're putting up information on the internet, you are not a writer. You are not a creative writer. When you take a photo and you tilt it 45 degrees in a Dutch angle, you are not a photographer or a documentarian or an artist. You are shit with a camera. If you post information on the internet or have a website that does this, no matter what we all try to do, where it absolutely makes shit ambiguous so it can be re-aged or de-aged so that it's perpetually interesting to look at because that's your engagement model, X, you're not creative or writers or drama persons or well, it's our art or we're innovating. You're deliberately creating misinformation and confusion because that gets clicks. At supposedly 3 p.m. local time, again, because we have to have every year we change things by an hour, but it depends on which state you're in, and only in a month of an hour, or whatever bullshit reasoning, instead of just having admitted that daylight savings time was not useful to the common person. It's useful for power saving. Yes. It's useless otherwise. Yes, this is going to go off in tangents. You got to sit through this for 4 or 5 minutes. Someone may be reporting on something from 3 years ago as being current news because the page will optionally decide that a style sheet, because of style over substance, showing you a shooting incident or something like that from 2022 November. Yeah. Well, why don't you set up a Twitter account? Why don't you go stick your extra body parts into a blender and solve everything from this point forward for humanity, not carrying your DNA forward? Shut the fuck up. I'm not going to set up a Twitter account because Twitter used to and should be not requiring that we see the latest data hidden behind a login wall or paywall. And I'm going to emphasize again, the state of Virginia needs to legally compel every single company, website, whatever, to stop barring archive.org from being used manually by us users to do it, and make it illegal to retroactively erase shit by issuing a robot's text order that says, don't archive me, and then archive.org erases everything from today backwards. Unless there's a fucking court order, stop doing it. Okay, I'm done. 3 p.m. or some other timing, we don't know, Department of Safety and Security, again, that's using a really shitty way to communicate, posted an alert of an active attacker with a gun, just say gunman, told the community, run, hide, and fight. Last resort is fight. 30 minutes later, again, last Tuesdayism, yes, a website actually did that. Well, 30 minutes later, hold your editor down on the table, duct tape the person physically to their desk, and make them repeat after me, I will use time and date stamps, or I am fired, and make them say it as a chant on your local YouTube channel you set up, and upload it to where you literally taunt them for being an idiot. Stop using last Tuesdayism. Is that clear? The time and date stamp was 3:30 or 3:31. Which was it? I don't know. That means you did not do your job as a journalist. Stop it. Local time or GMT. I don't give a shit which, but do it. Anyway, 30 minutes later, last Tuesdayism, no evidence of an attacker of any kind. Continue run, hide, and fight for some reason. Department of Safety and Security. If your postings are going to cause panic, not give anybody a direction to run, hide, or fight, stop posting. By a little after that, again, what journalist put that up? I mean, I'll have the link, I guess, below. I don't know. If you're the journalist who did that, said about 30 minutes later, instead of just apparently you were able to look at these because you were logged into Twitter, or maybe you had special status because they IP address permit people to view things, but they won't let archives happen randomly. You know who you are. If you are one of those people that had that information, what was the exact hour, minute, and second, you putz? No evidence of an attack has occurred. That's all. What about the run, hide, and fight? I don't know, because the journalist that put this up failed to cut and paste text on a page. You failed to cut and paste factual data. This is the bread and butter of yellow journalism. Every one of them that refused to simply cut and paste verbatim what was said and leave it up and shut up and just let us read it. Every one of you assholes who refuse to archive this or, quote, keep the receipts, all of you are shit journalists. You deserve no respect. No one should pay you, and everybody should absolutely blockade buying your paper or going to your page. It's not fake news, it's failing at news. An archiving website that is being blocked could have simply done this for us. At least Twitter isn't banning me from archiving it. So I'm going to archive the shit out of it and put all the links below. You're welcome. Then apparently at 3:14 p.m., what is that relevant to? I don't know. It could have been 4:15 or 2:15. We don't know. I'm going to assume it's 4:15, but it says 3:15 on the archive of it because reasons. UVA Emergency Alert. Run, hide, fight. UDP on scene. Shannon Library continuing to investigate. Run, hide, fight again. You're simply emphasizing run, hide, and fight. Here's a clue. I went to a community college, one of those low-end, lowbrow ones. And they had a PA system they'd run every once in a while. And a guy would get on, okay, everybody, this is simply a test to make sure all the speakers work. Find ones that crackle. He did the surfer dude bit. This is to alert you nothing is going on that I know of. Except that there's a cat loose in the library and nobody's complaining because they just pet it and it purrs. Make sure it doesn't poo in the corner. That kind of stuff. But it was a test every once in a while to make sure the speakers worked. And then something actually happened. Everybody in the science building, get out. Evacuate science building, and then it gave the exact location and told everybody who was nearby to make sure people were getting out and make sure they looked immediately towards the doors to make sure people got out. Because there was a fire in the science lab because somebody did a Bart Simpson thing and mixed two things together they shouldn't have. And yeah, it made a loud boom, and he didn't need that announcement didn't need to be made. But the speakers worked. You know, the high-tech wizardry of every fucking high school and grade school since electricity occurred everywhere that a lot of us old people dealt with. Literally made fun of in the Peanuts cartoon as being that. That's where they got the idea from, is the horrible speaker quality. No, don't Wi-Fi it. Don't do anything. Just put wires in and make it work the way it's worked reliably for 100 fucking years. We've been able to use this kind of communication. It's this newfangled thing called audio. Tell everybody on campus there's a shooter and tell them to leave the campus. Supposedly just before 4 p.m. No, it's actually saying 3:58 p.m. It says, update, police are continuing to investigate. So really, was it 3:14? I don't know. But anyway, 3:58 p.m. update, police are continuing to investigate at Shannon Library. At this time, there is no evidence that an attack occurred. Continue to follow run, hide, fight protocol until all clear is issued. And then somebody, because it's going to happen, is going to say, well, they had this list up here and I was able to get at it and it talked about a person November 14th. It's not the 14th, is it? Let me double check. Let's see if time-space is curved violently. No, it's not the 14th. Yeah, it was November 14th of 2022. An almost identical alert was done. No, I'm not kidding. Are people reading the right ones? Does X deliberately remove the time and date stamp all the way to not including the century, year, and month? At least they left the month there. 4:13 p.m. Update. Police are continuing to investigate at the Shannon Library. At this time, there's no evidence of an attack that has occurred. Hey, this sounds very familiar. OMG WTF barbecue. Continue to follow run, hide, fight protocol until all clear is issued. Now, that one said it was 4:13. Okay, then we have 4:13 again. Somehow the same thing, but it's somehow a different timing. Pretty sure it's just a duplicate and we're an hour off because daylight savings time again. So let's review. I'm not making it about me. I'm making it about all of you and your safety and well-being, and in my case, my fucking sanity when I try to look up something because some dickhead who should have kept to making his roadsters, decided to stick his fingies into Twitter, rename it something he's obsessed with, and turn it into something that for some fucking reason can't keep the century straight. I'm not kidding. You can look at some of the archives I'm going to link below, and it won't tell you what year it was or date. It mentions verbally November or NOV. That's nice. Making postings on the internet timeless means you can recycle old stories and get them to trend again. That's about all it's good for. Yes, that's been done by really shitty news sites a lot. And Twitter has been guilty of doing it, hundreds of times. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt about whether or not your source is of any reliability at all. Dear Virginia, the state, make it illegal for any of your official government sites to bar archive.org. Second, if a website refuses to comply with ISO standards of putting century, year, month, day, hour, minute, and second to every posting, fucking stop using it and actually stay with that. And if a website changes its behavior, reevaluate and act accordingly. Next, very importantly, get X to stop refusing to be archived. It sounds like they're trying to avoid us taking receipts. Last, apparently nothing actually happened, but again, run, hide, fight is the rule of the day because reasons. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll need it.